to New Ulm Forum. New Ulm Forum is hosted by the League of Women Voters this week, and our organization has been hosting various programs as part of New Ulm Forum. The League of Women Voters New Ulm is a nonprofit membership group that advances issues dealing with civic engagement in government and civic participation. We really welcome our guest today, Nicole Schmiesing. Nicole is the Executive Director of the NUMAS Haus. Let's start out. What's the NUMAS Haus?
Hi, thanks for having us today. NUMAS Haus is a homeless shelter for women and children located in Brown County, and we provide emergency shelter and support to our families. And then we have an additional 90-day program while they're at the house that they participate in. And that just depends on when we can find them stable housing within the communities within Brown County. And so sometimes that number is 120 days, depending on the housing options. And then they go through various programs while they're part of NUMAS Haus.
Thanks. And Nicole, can you describe what some of those programs are?
Yeah, sure. We rely heavily on our community organizations, and we're super blessed to have so many options and support within the community. They go through a financial class with one of the local banks here, and then we work with them on budgeting, and we're so blessed that we have so much support at NUMAS Haus for hygiene, diapers. We work with community partner on that. We have our donors. That the expectation is they commit to putting at least 35% in a savings account. And then we have people that save upwards of 70%. The idea is the more we support them while they're at the house, the more they'll have in their savings account when it's time to move out. Our goal, of course, is to get them into stable housing and to keep them there. And so this money can help with first month's rent. It can help with a deposit. We can have an emergency option for them available as well with that savings account. And so it's really important, that financial piece, and then it helps with learning how to save and attributing 30 to 35% of your income towards housing. And then we also have partnered with a local practitioner here for mental health services. So we're super fortunate. We have 2 standing appointments every week. And so our women or children can go and meet with her, and then continue to meet with her on a weekly basis while they're at the house. And then we transition them over into their own insurance with her. So that continues on, that partnership. So that's a really cool program that we've started. The board was really supportive of that piece. And then we also work with community partners for daycare, laundry. We work deeply with the county. Our goal is to work with as many community partners as we can and really show the families that there's support within our community, and then they can continue that supportive relationship once they're out of the house. And so we don't want to recreate anything that's already happening in the community. We want to work with our partners and rely on that. And so a lot of our programming is that external programming, and then internal programming. In addition to the items I already mentioned, we also have a Love and Logic course. We're right now working with a group to figure out some one-on-one parenting, which would be really phenomenal and I think really beneficial to have as well. And then we also have a renting educational component called RentWise, where it kind of teaches them how to be a good renter and what goes into that as well. And so I think our programming has most certainly expanded. We're really, really lucky. The women that have come through the shelter, they all want to be there, and we have different requirements for them to be there. So it's not an easy program to be part of necessarily, but we're so blessed that they want to be there and want to see that change. They have a curfew, so they got to be in by 10. If they want an overnight, it doesn't happen within the first period of time that they're at the house. They have to have pre-authorization for that. They share in chores. So we have space within the house that's community space, the kitchen, living room, play area, and that's all shared chores, the bathrooms. And if they, we have a lot of women that come with jobs, but if they don't have one or they're looking to change the hours or something to that effect, then our shelter coordinator is really good about getting them employed within a very short period of time with being at NUMAS House. And so that's always exciting for us when they're able
Someone
to
lands
secure
a
a job.
job.
Yeah. So
Can you tell me, after people leave the NUMAS House, do you provide any services to support stable homes and to support stable housing? It sounds like housing is the number one issue, housing
Yeah.
and employment.
Yeah, very good. Good question. So we're fortunate that we have somebody that essentially has a house that we are able to utilize right now, and so that's our transitional unit. And the idea with that is everything's included. It's not a moneymaker for them. And we take a certain portion of that rent that they pay every month, and we actually put that towards a security deposit. So while they're paying rent and they're learning to be a good tenant and they're building up that rental history, plus that case management is probably a little bit more intense at that transitional unit after they're out of the house, then once they move out, they're able to have additional deposit when they move out as well, and then they get their original deposit back. And that's been a really neat opportunity that we've had. And then, of course, we keep our residents, if they want to be on case management, we keep them on case management for up to 2 years. But we always have unicorns, so we have some residents that have been out of the house for longer than that, and they'll have a stumbling block with maybe a budget or a setback with a job or transportation or something, and then they'll re-engage in case management, and we'll most certainly bring them in with open arms. And so the shelter coordinator has been really good about working with those that are on case management and then being open to bringing others in that maybe haven't been or haven't been part of the program for a while. And so that's been really neat. And so we're able to address any issues that might come up and get them kind of squared away again and provide those resources or provide some support, and then make sure that they maintain that stable housing. So.
And how many clients have you served over the years? Do you know, or?
Yeah, of course. So as of today, we're at 182 individuals, so 89 women and 93 children have been through the program since opening the doors in 2016.
And how many currently reside?
So we're full. We've been full for quite a while now. We've had an interesting kind of situation arise this summer where we peaked our wait list at 13.
Oofda.
And so we have priority placement for Brown County and then priority placement for families. And our wait list is fluid, so one day it could be 13, one day it could be 5, one day it could be 1. And it just depends on what's going in on the house and then who's moving out and what that looks like from a timing perspective. But you know, we always encourage people, if they want to reach out or they do want to see if we have an opening, to do so, because it is fluid. You know, we could have an opening, or you could be waitlisted, or it could happen very quick. And so one of the things this summer, I think, that since I've been working at NUMAS House was really troublesome is when you have 2 individuals that want to move in with kids, and then we have to be the ones to make the decision as to who gets to move in and who stays in their car. And that was a situation that I hope to never be in again. It wasn't a pleasant situation by any means. Your heart just goes out to these families, and to really be the one that picks who moves in and who doesn't is an awful place to be in. And that's really what spurred kind of some motivation for NUMAS House to really look at, until we always have one room open and we're ready to receive that person when they need that help, then we're not the size that we should be. And, you know, with the wait list, they might decide to stay in their toxic situation. They might decide to relocate to a different community and kind of cut ties with some of the community support here, and that's not always a positive thing. And so our goal really is to have one room open and have it available to our Brown County families. So
Well, that kind of brings us to new developments, doesn't it? I know the NUMAS House has some expansion activities in the works.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, so we were fortunate to work with the First United Methodist Church and in acquiring the church building in addition to the current shelter that we have. And, you know, that congregation has been with NUMAS House from the very beginning, one of the founding members. And they sold us the church building for $1, and so we were very blessed for that. We do miss having them in the building. It's one of those things where we're excited for them and what their congregation is doing now and what their future looks like, but it's also one of those things where it's most certainly sad to see a church that's going to celebrate their 100 years this year not be in that building anymore. But they're a wonderful, wonderful congregation, and we're really blessed to have been given that opportunity to acquire that building.
So what are your plans for that building?
So we, our hope is that we'll have an additional 3 to 5 rooms on the top floor. And those 3 rooms would be able to expand like a motel room into 5. So we'd have adjoining doors there. So they could expand or contract for our families. That would be ideal. And then it would all be, the living quarters would be on that top floor. So there'd be 3 to 5 bedrooms, depending on the size of our families, 2 bathrooms, and then a communal kitchen, a designated kid area, an office, which is currently the hallway. And so we're really good about maximizing every inch of the space that we can in the shelter. And so that's our plan for this new space, and making sure it's gonna be something that can withstand a lot of kids. I mean, when I first started, there were 11 kids in the house, which it's a small house and purely chaotic, and I loved every minute of it. And so hoping that we can have something that's gonna last for a long period of time, but also be really affordable. And so we're fortunate to have a board that's very mindful about, you know, what we can try to ask the community to support us for with a capital campaign, and then also how we're gonna sustain that cost over the long term so that it's not something that's a short-term situation. And so we've got, I think, just the very best people working on how to make this work and what that's gonna look like, so.
I know this all takes money. Can you describe how the NUMAS House is funded and whether there's a campaign for this new effort?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, so I would say we are funded roughly probably 85% from individuals, businesses, churches, civic clubs within the community. So we get checks on a monthly basis. We have people that do fundraisers for us, and they either live or work or have a connection to Brown County. We have individuals that know of past residents that support us still, and maybe there's no connection here except for that, for example. And so really, NUMAS House is here because the community supports us to be here. When you're relying on them for that much funding and you have operational expenses over $200,000, I mean, that's a lot of money that people are sending our way every single month. And it's just an amazing, it's just amazing, so probably 15% or so our grant funding that we receive. And the rest of it is because the communities in Brown County want us here.
That is pretty amazing, and for a newer nonprofit, sometimes that figure's flipped, that it's far more grant dependent, so the local support is really great.
And I think the other thing about that is it's also exciting for us because with our plans for expansion, you know, we're hoping from an operating standpoint, because we're gonna need individuals to support those families, that there's some additional opportunity within those grant components. And so that's something the board's looking at now, which is really smart and exciting for us as well. And then of course, we'll be launching a capital campaign as well this year. And so we're hoping the community will come out and support us and help with raising those funds to remodel the upstairs. We've done a small amount of remodeling already just to make the space functional. And so our goal, of course, is to keep the historical integrity of the church. And we added in a storage room area underneath the balcony on the main floor, and then divided up one of the larger offices into 2 offices. But if you go in there, you would think that it's been there forever. I mean, they just did such a nice job of reconfiguring the woodwork, so it looks like it was like that forever, and it's
Wow,
just wonderful.
nice.
So now we have a bank of 4 offices as well, which is pretty amazing. Yeah.
Good.
And we've turned the conference room, the library on the first floor into a kid area. So we have some really neat toys and other items within that space, which is really kid friendly, and the kiddos can come over from there. And so our next big step is really that capital campaign for that living quarters. And then in the future, we'd like to be able to have a space in the sanctuary for our kiddos to play and kind of let their wiggles out, because you've been in the house before.
The house,
It's small. And so
It
yeah.
looks large from the outside, and I think the space is well maintained, but having a separate play area, as you're describing, is probably a great need.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you had 11 kids when you first
I
came
know.
in. Goodness. Well, clearly there are volunteers that help keep NUMAS going and assist the clients and their kids. Can you describe what some of those are? I know I've been a volunteer.
Yeah.
And my volunteer experience has been working within the house and also driving and sometimes helping with the newsletter and fundraising.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, yeah, it's always nice when we can rely on volunteers. You volunteered for a long time and you still do, and it's very helpful for the families and the connections, I think, too, when you're volunteering and meeting those families. And it's such a collaborative environment when people can come up with different ideas of support, and we just really appreciate our volunteers. We, just like all the other organizations, during COVID, it most certainly declined the amount that we were able to have those volunteers. And so we're fortunate we have a part-time office/volunteer coordinator that just started not too long ago. And so she's working on getting all of our volunteers together and talking about some different opportunities. So I would most strongly encourage, if anybody's considering volunteering for NUMAS House, it's really low maintenance. You can kind of pick what you want to do or what your hours are. We have a gal that's coming in to teach one of our younger moms how to prepare meals and freeze them.
Oh, good. Good.
We have some childcare opportunities, which are my favorite part, for our families as well. We've got the mailings, which are really happen at the church, and it's a group of women that
This is the newsletter. Some of your help is helping with the newsletter.
and I think they have a lot of fun. We always enjoy those times when we can get together, and right now I think our reach for newsletters is up to a little over 1,200 individuals.
goodness.
So we've increased that quite a bit, and we were always looking for help with maintenance or different types of organizing or moving. We've got a large project where we'll be moving the Shop the Closet. It's a program that I started where when they move in, they can shop the closet, and then when they move out, they can shop the closet. And we're so blessed. We have organizations that commit to different baskets, and so there's plungers and toilet bowl cleaners, and we do all the cleaning supplies because of what we get from the community, and hygiene products and small household appliances. We work with Heart Home on furnishings, on getting the rest of their stuff in their apartment. I mean, we're just so unbelievably grateful for the organizations and the community for giving us the option to have the Shop the Closet. But it really works out well because it entices our families to make sure their living space at the shelter is move-in ready for our next families. And so that's been a really nice addition. But they'll go out with 2-3 cartfuls. And if you can imagine, I mean, if you're starting all over and you don't have anything, I mean, that's a lot of money. And so it's a big deal that we have a toaster, we have an alarm clock.
Shower curtain.
A shower curtain,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. And so we're super blessed for that. So a big project we have coming up would be that. We also have a new playground that was donated, and then the proceeds were matched. And so we have a really large playground that's coming up. We were able to move the current playground to the transitional unit, which was a
Nice.
great use of that space. And so we'll have a large community 2-3 day event where we'll be asking for people to come and help us put that together. So we're very money conscious, and so anytime we can have a volunteer that's willing and has that skill set to jump in and help, we most certainly appreciate it. We have some mentoring opportunities available too. I would say right now transportation is still one of our larger needs that we have. We have some volunteers that have been there and done a consistent schedule. I know you've done that, Teresa, and it's can be 6 in the morning every single day to get them to their job. It could be every single day for a 4 o'clock pickup. It could be, I'm only available in the afternoons and we'll just call you in the afternoons. It could be I need notice or I don't need notice. And so really those volunteers can craft how they would like to be utilized with NUMAS Haus and the families that are there. And then we can make sure to support them in what that looks like. And I mean, it's not every day you get to go be part of something where you have that direct impact.
Right.
And where you can see exactly what you're doing and how it might be helpful. And I just encourage anybody that's interested to reach out, and Laura would be happy to.
How would people contact you if they wish to volunteer or donate?
Yeah, so the phone number, 359-2202, that's a great way to get a hold of us, and Lorna's the one that's handling the volunteers right now. And then any type of donations can also be directed to that phone number or our email addresses. Those are all out online as well on our website at www.numashaus, NUMASHAUS.org. And that information is all out there as well.
Can an individual contribute online?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
This is a great opportunity.
Yeah, and it works out really well. Our fundraising software that we have, you can set it up where it's a one-time donation. We have people that set up online reoccurring donations, and so that's been wonderful. We're really fortunate that our annual event has really increased probably by, I'd say, 40% from a funding opportunity source. So we've increased that by 40%, and really that annual fundraiser can help pay for about half of our operating expenses.
That's one successful fundraiser.
And so we're super blessed that we have people that like to come to that event and share and be part of, really, it's a night of stories from our past residents and some other fundraising opportunities, and it's just a real joyful event, I would say.
Good music, good food.
Wonderful music.
Lots of camaraderie.
Yeah.
Well, Nicole, is there anything in closing you wish to share?
I think our fundraiser, of course, this year is going to be a little bit different. We're looking at a Thursday now just because New Ulm is so busy that weekend. And so we always had it the third weekend on a Saturday. And so now we're looking this year at September 26th, which is a Thursday. So a little bit different. But it'll still be within that same time frame in September. And so that's what we're looking at this year. So save the date for that. And we really appreciate the League of Women Voters, New Ulm, for having us today. And we most certainly appreciate you as a volunteer. So
Thank you. Thanks, New
Thank you.
Cat.